and in this video I am going to demo setting up a static pod. So my Kubernetes cluster is running on Google Compute Engine. I have 6 instances, 3 are in my control plane and 3 are worker nodes. I am going to SSH into my controller node. And from here, you will see that I don't have any pods running, and you can see the 3 worker nodes. So before we go ahead and create a static pod, it'd be a good idea to go over briefly what a static pod is. So a static pod bypasses the kube scheduler, and it is managed directly by the kubelet daemon on whatever node that you set it up on. The API server will be able to see it, but it won't be able to interact with it in any way. So I first started practicing with static pods when I went onto one of my coworkers' Kubernetes clusters and I wanted to mess it up a little just to bug him. So I thought the best way to do that would be to create a static pod and call it virus. And even if he were to kubectl delete the virus pod, it would come right back up. So I'm just going to go ahead and follow those same steps that I did before and show you how I created that virus static pod. I'm going to run a kubectl get pod to show that we don't have any pods running in our cluster. Now I want to run my static pod on worker 2, so we're going to SSH onto that node. From here, we're going to create a manifest file to create our static pod from. We can put it in any directory we really want. I wanted mine to be hidden, so I'm going to go into the .cube directory and from here create, let's call it config to make it sound generic. Version 1 for pod, it will be a pod, metadata, we will call it virus. We're just going to make it an nginx container, name it nginx, and the command it'll run is just to sleep. Alright, that looks good. We don't need to get fancy about it. From here, we want to navigate to the kubelet.service file. So we're going to go to etc systemd system, and from here we can see the kubelet.service. We're going to edit that file. And right here, I'm just going to add our flag in. The pod manifest path flag that will point to the manifest file where we created the static pod YAML. So we created that in home ldong.cube and named it config.yaml. Alright, save that. So I also want to be able to see the static pod being created live. So I'm going to open up another panel right here and SSH onto a controller instance. So we're gonna do a watch kube control get po. And from here, I'm gonna save this. So now that we added that flag, we're gonna do a sudo systemctl daemon reload, sudo systemctl restart kubelet service. And right here on the right side, you can now see that our virus static pod has been created. So our static pod is now running. Let's go onto, or let's exit out of this worker node right now and go into a second controller node. Gcloud compute SSH. So we're going to do controller 1 this time. I just want to show you that if you were to try and delete a static pod, it will come right back to life. So from here, we'll do a kubectl get po, and we'll see our virus pod running right there on node worker 2. We'll do a kubectl delete pod, copy this, and just watch on the right side. It will show that's being terminated, but right away it comes right back up, even though it did say it was deleted and running. So this is really fun to set up if you're trying to annoy your coworkers, or if somebody just annoyed you and you just want to have this pod running at all times until they can figure out how to remove it. So speaking of removing it, there's two ways to do that. You can either find wherever this YAML manifest is located and delete that, or you can remove that --pod -manifest -path flag within the kubelet.service file. So I'll show you the second way of removing this static pod. So right now we're in controller 1. We need to go into worker 2 to remove it. So let's exit out of here. We are going to edit that kubelet.service file again. And remove that flag. Alright, so we took out that flag, but as you can see here, our virus is still running. We would need to do another sudo system control daemon reload and restart the kubelet. Whoa. And now the static pod is finally gone. So in this video, I'm going to just delete that YAML file as well. So it was in our home directory in the .kube folder, and we'll remove config.yaml. And it's gone. So yeah, that's static pods. Hopefully you found that interesting or learned something. I don't know. But that's all I have for you.